Okay, so thank you all for being here today. I'm very glad to host my first webinar, and I'm very thankful for my two wonderful guests today, Gina and Katie. So, the goal of this webinar today is to talk about wonderful careers for women in the propane industry. So, before we start, I would just like you to picture something for me, okay? Just picture the first time you walked into a propane yard, into the office of the first propane business you worked for, the first time you sat in an industry meeting. Like, if you picture the room, who was in it? Like, can you see yourself reflected back in this room? For a long time in the industry, I think the answer for many women is no, because they weren't there. So I think it's been a short time since the women have been implicated in the propane industry and have built beautiful careers in there. So the conversation is not about like polished success stories. It's about just the real climb. So I think we have two wonderful women who climbed the ladder here, and I would like to introduce you to Gina, that worked for AmeriGas for 9 years. And Gina moved from New York to Cleveland. She was working in customer service. She felt stuck and she wanted new opportunities. So she was assigned to a call center development project, and then got promoted as a manager, then as a senior manager, and then as a director. So I think this is an example of a real climb, and we're just gonna ask a lot of questions so Gina can explain her story after all. And I would like to also introduce Katie. So Katie has been 20 years with Worthington, and she started at Worthington 2 years after she graduated. She worked at 9 locations, and I think nice to mention that you work in Hawaii, which you are lucky to to have done. And so Katie felt fortunate to have all these opportunities with Worthington. She started from HR to safety to lean to operations. So I think this is just very great to have touched all of the department in the industry and the business. So let's start with our questions. Thank you, ladies, again for being with me today. So first of all, I'm gonna start with Katie. So, Katie, can you please take us back to your very first day in the propane industry? Like, what was your role? Were you interested about this industry, or was it just because the position was open? And honestly, do you picture yourself? Well, did you picture yourself still being in the industry 20 years later?
Yeah, so when I first started, I was right out of college with a business degree, and Worthington actually came to my school to recruit. And I went through a series of interviews, and I was actually asked during my last interview, are you really sure that you want to be in operations and that you really want to do this? Are you sure you don't want to be in sales or some other field? And I'm like, no, I really want to be in operations. It sounds similar to sports and basketball, and that's what I've always loved and enjoyed. So I'm gonna dive into this. I had not spent any time in any manufacturing plants before, and my first day I was at a union plant in Baltimore, Maryland, and I was 6 hours from my family or anyone that I ever had known or grown up with, and I started on the shop floor and I started training on all of the equipment out on the shop floor and running forklifts, running roll form machines, learning the ins and outs of maintenance. And that's really how I spent my first year with the company. Did I expect myself to still be here 20 years later? I don't think I really knew at that point. It was just an adventure that I was taking day by day, and I was learning a ton, not just about leadership, but about equipment and tools and things that I had never been exposed to before. So Definitely an awesome opportunity. And I dove in without any experience or really knowing what I was doing.
So basically, the continuous like gain of knowledge and opportunities in the business, right?
Yep. Yep.
So what exactly made you stay? Do you know? Was it like the work itself, the promotion, the person, or just maybe something you didn't expect?
Two things. I mean, first off, the people. Yeah, I love the people that I worked with back then, and all my moves everywhere that I've been, just working with amazing teams, learning so much from different people, whether it been my peers or mentors. That's really what's kept me for 20 years, is just all the amazing people. And then the other side of that was just the continuous ability to learn and grow. It just hasn't stopped. It doesn't stop today. I'm still learning every day. So that continues to bring me back and keep me interested for sure.
Yeah, you're very lucky that you had all of these opportunities. Thank you for sharing that with us, Katie.
Yeah.
Um, Gina, can you please walk us through the pivotal moment of like what shifted your career from an entry level to like leadership role? Was it a promotion you fought for? Maybe a mentor that pushed you, or just like a moment you decided something for yourself? How did that happen?
Um, well, hello everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. And yeah, when thinking about that moment, it takes me back to quite a few years ago, but I was actually in a union position, entry level in my previous career. And for those of you who have worked in a union shop, you know what it represents to the people in the union, right? It represents benefits, safety, job protection, those type of things. Um, for me, I realized that it was a false sense of security in a sense. And I decided to give up the protection of the union to step into something a little bit more uncertain, such as a leadership position. And it was a significant risk because at that time, managers were consistently under tremendous amount of pressure to perform. They were usually the first in line if there was a layoff. And so my friends, my peers, and coworkers around me thought that I was making the wrong decision by not focusing on the financial security of my family. And I risked a lot socially and professionally by raising my hand to go into management. But deciding for myself was more important for me. And I decided early on that letting other people's comfort wasn't going to set the ceiling on my career. I knew that staying comfortable wasn't the same thing as staying where I belonged. And so every major decision that I've made since then, including changing that career and coming over to the propane industry and stepping into the director role, was made around prioritizing growth over comfort.
Absolutely. And I assume you don't regret it, right? No, I
No,
think
there's definitely challenging parts, right? And there's definitely times when you want that comfort. But I think to what Katie mentioned earlier, one of my biggest reasons for staying here is the growth and the challenge that comes with that. And I wouldn't trade it for anything.
absolutely. And when you started as a union position, did you wish you would one day be a manager?
No,
No?
no, it really started as a need. I mean, I was very young, right out of high school, wanted a job, landed in a very good company that had the growth potential. And so I did grow, but it was still very much about staying in the union, staying in those type of jobs, right? And when the opportunity presented itself to do something outside of that, that kind of was leaving that protection. It was very interesting to see how people responded to that. And they were very quick to say, "What are you doing? Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense." So it was definitely not the most popular choice, but not something that I regret at all.
And were you surprised when they offered the promotion to you?
That's also another interesting story. So I stepped into what we call a temporary role. It was an interim position. The position was at first offered to me, and believe it or not, I accepted the position and then very quickly had regrets. And I remember it was offered to me on a Friday. I went home for the weekend, and every thought and comment that was made to me about the leaving a union job to go into leadership came haunting me. And that first position, ended up turning it down because of that reason. Um, I was grateful that I was still given the chance. So about 3 months later, I was offered the position again, and this time I accepted it with no hesitation. So
That's funny. And like, do you recall something like a skill that you developed when you were union and that you are still using today as executive level?
it's a skill, you said?
Yeah.
I think it's just being able to see an opportunity for yourself and understanding that that is either part of who you are or part of your destiny, and then having the courage to execute on that decision, even if it's not the most comfortable or the most popular decision for everyone else.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I think that's great. Everybody should think like that. Thank you so much, Gina, for this beautiful story. Um, and like talking about not picturing yourself becoming a manager, Katie, would you please share with us a moment where you felt underestimated in your career? How did you handle it in the moment? And if you think about it years later, would you handle it differently today?
Yeah, I think, there's been multiple times where, moving to a lot of different locations, you're constantly starting with a new team, new culture, different areas of the United States. So when you're the new person and you come into any location, you kind of need to prove yourself a little bit. I don't know if people were underestimating me at the time, but definitely questioning, okay, who is this person? What's their background? Do they even, know what they're doing? Kind of situations that I would have to walk into as I move to different plants and different roles. Um, and in those situations, I always focus on building relationships. That's the most important piece. The rest of it'll come. But if you build those relationships with folks and find common grounds and commonalities between you and others, um, I really think the rest comes. You don't need to necessarily prove your knowledge right out of the gate, but build those relationships with folks. And so I've learned that as you come in as a newcomer and people don't really know you, that focus on that first and the rest will follow.
Yeah, it's intimidating. And I think if you respect people, the rest will come with it. And, as you said, you don't have to show your knowledge. And is there like a bad experience you had where you considered seriously leaving the industry? And what kept you there if you are still with us today?
I wouldn't say I've been really fortunate over the last 20 years. Have it's a great company, great support group. I have a lot of mentors that I've, come in contact with over the years. So I have felt really supported. So I've been fortunate in that respect. And I've never really felt like I was ready to leave or I had one foot out the door. But what's kept me here, like I said earlier, is the people and the opportunities to grow and learn. But a lot of that, like Gina referred to, is taking some risks and feeling uncomfortable. I can definitely say moving into different roles, different states, different teams, it's been extremely uncomfortable at times and challenging, and also moving through the different seasons of life as well, while trying to balance, your home life and career could also be challenging. I know in the last 3 years I've had 2 kids, um, and just figuring out how to be a really good leader, a good mom, a food source for my children as well, during those times. I mean, that's been the most challenging thing that I've faced. It has definitely been the last 3 years, and having my 2 children, and I've been able to challenge myself in a different way now, balancing leadership and being a mom. So, yeah, but I always go back to the people side. I'm fortunate. I work with a great team, a great leadership team here at my location. I have great support as far as my boss and our executive leadership team goes. So it all works out, but it's a lot of work. And yes, there's times where you feel uncomfortable and frustrated. That's for sure.
Yeah, at least you have the support of your boss and your colleagues in that new portion of your life. And it's true, being a mom and being a leader and an important position in a business is really hard. Can you explain how you handle it? What is the balance you found?
Yeah, I think, I like to call it a rhythm. So I had to find my rhythm, because like some days you're going to have to choose work first. And there's going to be days that are longer at the shop, at the office. And some days you're going to have to choose family first, so that your kids need you as well. So I think it's getting into a good rhythm, and then relying on your support groups, both, my team here and support groups outside of work, as well. So,
Okay, okay. So you feel that now you have your rhythm and you're comfortable in your new routine. Yeah,
yeah,
good for you.
yes, and we're done having kids. I'm maxed out at 2, so
Yes, yes, I understand that. I decided to stop at one, so
there you go.
yeah. Okay, and Gina, earlier you talked about not expecting to be a manager in your career. So since you are now a manager, and I would say even a director, have you ever felt the imposter syndrome? Like we rarely talk about that with specifics, but can you share a specific situation where you felt you didn't belong into the room, if that ever happened to you?
Um, I think it happens all the time. I don't think it's something that goes away. I read something that said imposter syndrome doesn't care about your title. It kind of moves with you, right? So I've noticed that every time that I have leveled up, it always show up, and the bigger the room, the louder that voice becomes. At least that's what it feels like for me. So the way that it shows up, though, is interesting, because I've become very aware of it, right? You start to over prepare for everything, because you think over preparing is the antidote to feeling like an imposter, right? And then you sit and wonder if you're the only one that's feeling this way, oftentimes, at least that I know I do. So one of the things uh, that I do to counteract that is to remind myself that nobody handed me any promotion or any seat at the table or any project, right? Every role, every hard conversation, every team that I've been a part of, every crisis that I navigated, that was real. That's experience under my belt. That's something that I lived through and worked through. And so I really just stopped trying to silence the voice, and I'm letting it drive, more than trying to silence it, because at the end of the day, confidence is not about the absence of doubt, but is really about deciding to move regardless of that fear and that doubt. And it's a constant battle. It's something that you have to work through every single day. At least I do.
Absolutely. And do you think you have the imposter syndrome because you are a woman in a male industry, or it has nothing to do with that?
I think it's both. I think it definitely doesn't help that you're a woman in a male industry. But part of being uncomfortable and growing is putting yourself in those positions, even if it means that you are the only woman at the table or the only woman in a conversation. And um, yeah, I don't know that it makes it harder. I think it really just becomes more about you and how you handle the challenges and how you move, even when you're not feeling the most confident. We've all been part of situations where, we've said something, whether it's in a meeting or on a call where we've shared an idea or given the feedback, and it gets bypassed, and then 10 minutes later someone else says it and it's the best idea in the world. And those moments definitely doesn't help or contribute to how you're feeling, but it's letting it use that as information, rather than letting it cloud or impact you negatively.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think you feel it less and less, or is it like, did you build confidence over the years?
You build confidence, it's a muscle. But if you're growing, then you're always going to find yourself in situations where it comes up again. At least for me, it does, right? So there's times where if you've been in a situation before, you know what you know, and you're pulling from that place where no one can challenge what you're saying because you have certainty, and that's really where it becomes powerful. There's times where you're not 100% certain, and so that's where the doubt comes in. I don't know that it gets easier, but it's definitely like developing a muscle. And I think that if you're not putting yourself in those positions to exercise that muscle, then the doubt wins.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you're talking about maybe feeling the imposter syndrome a little bit more because we are women in a male industry. What's something about being a woman in the industry that you wish more of your male colleagues would like genuinely understood?
Oof.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
That is a hard one. Well, I think that a lot of the times for us women, being overlooked comes with just making an assumption of who we are. Katie mentioned balancing roles, right? Being everything you can be for someone at home and being everything you can be at work, and being able to show up in multiple places, and aiming to be 100% everywhere. And because we strive for that level of perfection, that I think for men, a lot of the times it seems easier for them to just show up and be who they are, or say it the way that they're thinking it without being so polished, right? Or just coming up with the idea that or the voice that gets heard. So I think is what I would love for them to understand is to take that in consideration, to maybe listen more, or to allow the door to stay open, and the platform to be available, to listen to those ideas and listen to the feedback, um, and not just dismiss it. I think that would be the main thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. Like being a woman can be very challenging, but I would not have it any other way. I think like the hard work we put in, the climb of the ladder, it's just all worth it because at the end you are so proud of being one of the like only woman in the industry. So I think this is all worth it. Katie, have you ever wished you were a man to make it easier for you in your career?
No, no, I haven't. No, I agree with, what Gina was saying. And I've been fortunate along the way to be accepted and have a seat at the table and have a lot of really good mentors and a good support system here at Worthington. Um, and I always encourage my team right now that it's super important to have diverse mindsets when we make up a team of people. And we're going to be more successful if we have diverse mindsets, whether that be male, female, different backgrounds, coming from different places, different experiences. It's going to make us more successful. So I think I always focus on that with my team, when we're hiring, when we're building our teams as we move down through the levels, that we want to make sure that we have different folks on the team. And I think that's always going to it's going to make us more successful. It's going to allow us to move faster. It's going to create better ideas. So that's what we focus on here with my team. And I know Worthington overall. So no, I bring different background, different perspective, different skill set than some of my counterparts. So I don't ever wish I was a man. No. Happy I'm happy happy to bring what I bring to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, even if besides the sex, I mean, being a man or a woman, as long as you are competent, it's really the same thing. So it's just the gender. It's just something that you are born with. So at the end of the day, it's not about being a man or being a woman. It's just what you bring to the table, as you said. So this is yeah, exactly what I think too. And I think, Gina, you would agree with that, right?
Absolutely. I don't think it's about wanting to be someone different or someone other than yourself. It's about taking what you have and using your surrounding and environment as information, and then using it to build a bigger voice so you can be heard.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gina, if a young woman would came to you tomorrow, hired as a CSR, and asked you, "Can I really build a career here?" What would you tell her, and what would you not tell her?
I have that conversation about 10 to 20 times a day. So yes, absolutely, you can build a career here. I'm definitely proof of that. In my 9 years, I've moved through and built a significant career. I did more in the last 5 years in propane than I did the previous 15 years in my previous career combined. So there's definitely an opportunity to build a career. I would tell that person to pay attention to everything. Everything is a masterclass. You can learn from everything and everyone and every situation that you find yourself in. The one thing that we always tell people, and Katie mentioned it earlier, was you never stop learning here. I've met people who have had 25, 30 plus years and still learning things about the propane industry. So get curious about the business beyond the job description. That was a huge one for me, and that's always been one of the things that have propelled or helped me be successful. Building relationships is also important. Katie also talked about that, but that is so critical to the success and networking and finding the right mentors to guide you. And don't wait to be chosen. Name what you want out loud. Uh, Ambition that stays silent stays invisible. And if you don't know what you want and you're afraid to go after it, then it's going to feel like you're stuck. But saying yes before you're ready is another one. Being ready is a myth. So it's really about saying yes and then figuring out the rest later. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but getting comfortable with being uncomfortable should be the main thing. And then what I would not tell the person is that just working hard is the key. You have to be strategic. That's a little bit incomplete, right? Your path is not always going to be linear. Giving you the example from earlier, moved from one career of 15 plus years, came over to propane, and I actually took a downgrade and a significant pay cut to do that. And sometimes you have to be willing to look at the entire picture and say, what are you willing to do to get there, right? Um, Everyone's not going to cheer for your goals and your decisions or your ambition. I think that became clear to me early on. And again, don't wait to feel like you're ready to take the step.
Yeah, I think that's pretty complete. I think I would like to be someone hired as a CSR, and you give me that advice.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Um, Katie, if you had to do it all over again, like your whole career, would you change it, or would it be the same, the exact same?
I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, I love the journey that I've been on. Like I said, I've got to meet so many wonderful people. I've learned so much. I've experienced different states, different cultures. It led me to my husband, in one of my moves. Um, I agree with Gina. I think the one thing that I would change at times is that I was a little bit more vocal about where I wanted to go.
Mm.
Um, but no, I wouldn't go back and do anything differently because I'm super happy both professionally and personally and where I'm at now and the team I get to work with every day. So wouldn't change a thing.
Amazing. So you can really say that this is your dream job, is it?
Yeah, I could say that it all worked out in the beginning. I didn't know what I was getting into. It's been a lot of work, very challenging, a lot of sacrifice. Um, but yeah, I'm right where I would want to be. Can't see myself doing anything, different than continuing on this path with Worthington and seeing where the journey leads.
Yeah, I think not a lot of people can say that they are living their dream job right now, so you must feel very lucky to feel that way.
I I feel very fortunate both personally and professionally, that's for sure.
Amazing. And Gina, can you also say that you are living your dream as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I was reflecting on that as Katie was talking, and for those of you who have ever worked in customer service or call centers, that doesn't necessarily start out as your dream job. That is usually an entry level job that you pick up because you need to pay bills, right? It is your entry door, your open door to your first career. And so to be able to say that I am, now a director of a customer service team, it's a dream come true. There's a lot that can be learned by going through customer service and going through the ranks. And the only thing that I would probably change is that I would have bet on myself sooner. I It took me, for the first, 10, 15 years of my life, it was slow. I learned a lot, but I felt that I was kind of letting letting the opportunities take me wherever they wanted to take me. I wasn't being intentional about where I wanted to be. And I can honestly say that it's not until the last 7 years, potentially, where I've really become intentional about being where I am today. And yes, this is my dream job, and I do believe I wouldn't change anything else.
All right. So this is really the thing that you would have done differently if you had to start it all over again. Yeah, that's well, it's not so bad. I think you have a pretty good path. So thank you so much, ladies, for being open about how you lived your career and how you climbed the ladder. Really appreciate that. So I will just leave this maybe a couple minutes if some of our the people that are in the room will have some questions for you. So is there anybody who want to ask some questions? No, I think we did it well. We probably answered all of the questions already. So great. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Gina. I really appreciate your time and I enjoyed the discussion with you. So I'm looking forward to another webinar and thanks again.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you,
You're
Romy. Appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.